You guys can go ahead and grab a sit down. You gonna keep standing? Well, sweet. Thanks for coming to the summit. My name is Zach. I am the young adult pastor here at Park Valley. I also run the online campus. If you ever watch our stream and it messes up, that's my fault. You know, we can't all be perfect. Anyway. So if you weren't here last week or it's your first time, surprise, we're in our sex and dating series. It's always a good time, a little bit awkward to talk about. Today's not as bad as last week. I'm just going to give you that. It's a little more chill, But to recap, so you can experience the awkwardness with all of us. No, I'm just kidding. I do think this is like good stuff and important stuff for us to talk about. But anyway, to recap last week, we talked about kind of why sex within marriage and sex between one man and one woman within marriage makes sense, right? We talked about it from a biblical perspective, but we also talked about it from kind of a chemical perspective of like the things that are released in your brain during sex and how that's designed to draw the husband and the wife closer together. We also talked about not chasing momentary happiness as well as a part of that. You know, sometimes like you want to chase just what makes you feel good because it made you feel good last time. And I talked a little bit about my mom, how she smokes a ton. I feel like I probably joke about that a little too much, but I always say Becky Kiter is a saint, but she smokes like a chimney. You know, I love my mom. Mom, if you see this, I love you. But if you're smoking cigarettes, what happens is the way you felt kind of the first time you smoke a cigarette, like that amount of nicotine, you actually need more to get you to that same level of feeling, right? And it really doesn't change. It's the same thing with any kind of chemical that's released into your body, whether natural or unnatural. But I like to think that like the biggest thing that we talked about is just understanding how many people are in the room and the statistics that are out there of people who have sex outside of marriage and all that stuff is that Christ is the Redeemer. You know, if you're sitting out there and you feel like maybe you've already had sex or something has happened to you that was outside of your control, whatever the case is, Christ is the Redeemer. This is what he does. It's what he specializes in, right? So you don't have to come and look at this from a perspective of like, oh no, I've already messed up. I've already screwed up. Like, am I damaged goods? Am I no good? Does God not want me? Is anybody going to want me after this? You know, you don't have to worry about any of that because Christ is the Redeemer. All you have to do is to give that struggle over to Jesus. And we're going to talk about like accountability and things like that to like help you succeed in that. But to give it over to Christ is really like the first and best start to, I guess, the journey of healing and redemption and all that stuff. Really, the process of sanctification is what we're talking about. And today we're going to dive into a lot of how do you kind of prepare yourself for marriage? And I think it's kind of under that topic just because of the series itself, you know, sex and dating. But I think what we're going to talk about tonight is just good for everybody in general. Like, and I don't think, anyway, we'll get into it in a little bit. I'm about to like give you the whole message in one sentence. That's probably actually not a terrible idea. A one-sentence sermon, that'd be dope. Anyway, I tend to get a lot of questions from you guys. It's the nature of my job. A lot of advice when it comes to relationships, which is just normal at your guys' stage of life, you know? And it's great because I've seen a lot of you like honestly seek to want to do things the right way, you know, and sometimes people just need a little guidance or some people like overcorrect a little bit. I had a guy one time, he's like, I was thinking about asking this girl's dad for her phone number. And I'm like, ease up there, Tiger. I get what you're trying to do. I get it. I think she can handle the phone number. You know what I mean? Like she can be in charge of giving out her phone number or not. Like, it's like, I get the intent, you know, like you're trying to be respectful and all of that stuff. I think you just overcorrected a little too far there, you know? So it's great. I'm very honored to be able to like offer some guidance to you guys here and there and stuff. But through a lot of things that I've talked to people about, and this may be a hot take. This may be a hot take for a young adult ministry. We need to stop making marriage an idol in our lives. And I say it's a hot take because I still hear it. Like we try very hard at the summit to either like we're calling you guys the young adult ministry. We call you guys the summit. But every once in a while, someone comes in, he's like, oh, the singles ministry. And I'm like, that's not what it is. We have our token married couple right over here, Colton and Kaylee. Hannah is married, but Johnny has to work. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot. You guys are on stage all the time. You're used to it. You're used to it. Anyway, I think what happens a lot of times is we can make it an idol in our life. And it's not bad to want those things, to desire those things. Like, it's not bad to want to be married. But I think what happens a lot of times, and what I notice a lot with young adults, is it becomes like the biggest goal in your life. You know, like, how am I going to get married? Who am I going to marry? What does that look like? How come? And then you start asking yourself, like, more defeating questions, like how come nobody wants to date me? You know, like, I can't get married. What's wrong with me? You know, and I think it all stems from the idea of, like, we're taking this thing that's good. It's not necessarily bad, but we turn it into an idol, and we're putting it above our relationship with God. If you look at, you guys probably already know this, but Exodus chapter 20, verse 3, it's one of the 10 commandments. It simply just says, you shall have no other gods before me. Right? Pretty cut and dry, one of the big 10. And I think when it was written, you know, you're just coming from a standpoint, I mean, this is Old Testament before, like, Rome and Greek and everything, but you're looking at, like, Roman gods and Greek gods and all that stuff, like people who are putting these things above God a lot. So that's why they use the terminology gods. But I think, how does that look like for today? Are you putting a relationship above your relationship with Jesus? You know, are you putting money above that? Like, what are you chasing instead of your relationship with God? And I think the danger that comes from that is you are willing to do whatever it takes to hold on to that thing, right? Versus if your relationship with Jesus is the most important thing in your life, you're going to do whatever it takes to hold on to that thing, right? Which in this instance, when it's Jesus, it's a lot of health. It's a lot of good things, right? Because you're chasing God. You're diving into the Bible, right? You're trying to live biblically. We're not perfect. You're going to mess up and screw up, but you're trying, right? But when you take, like, wanting to be married and you put it above your relationship with Jesus, it's the same kind of mindset, right? Like, you are trying to do whatever it takes to get to that point. And I think what can happen, it may not, but what can happen is you get that same mindset. You do whatever it takes to hang on to this relationship that you think one day may end up in marriage. But that can lead to compromising values. Right? So, like, if you're dating somebody and they're like, hey, you know, like, we're going to get married. We want to do that. Like, let's go ahead and just have sex already. You know, like, we both love each other. We know it's going there. My argument would be, like, if they want to marry you, they're going to wait. Right? But if you have the mindset of, like, well, marriage is the end goal, right? You're putting it above your relationship with Jesus, whether you know it or you don't know it. It can turn into, like, well, if I want to get married, I need to do this thing. Otherwise, that person's going to leave. Do you see, like, you can all of a sudden find yourself in a situation or in a spot that you didn't think that you would ever put yourself in. But it's because you're making this thing an idol in your life. And once again, the series is sex and dating, but I think this can apply to several other avenues of life. If you put money above your relationship with Jesus, you know, you look at a lot of, like, low income places, right? And it tends to be like money is always the end goal. Right? It's like, we don't have money. It's going to solve all of our problems. How do we get more money? And you start turning to things that you probably would have never wanted to turn to in order to get it. You know? Versus money is not a priority in your life. Like, Jesus is number one. You're trusting him to take care of all of the necessities that you have. Then you're not willing to compromise values because Jesus is the number one thing. I totally lost my spot. Oh, I've also seen with young adults the idea of maybe you want a relationship so bad that just because somebody likes you, you're going to date them. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that or done it yourself. But sometimes it's okay to, like, look at your past and to call some stuff out. I'm not telling you to raise hands or anything like that. That'd be super weird. But I've seen it happen in people before, where they just want to be in a relationship so bad that the second that somebody likes them, they don't care really about that person. They're more interested in being in a relationship. So they will compromise a lot to stay in that relationship. They may not even like the person. They just like that they like them. You know what I'm saying? It can be a very compromising position to put us in. And when we let this become an idol, not just in our lives, but in society, I think a lot of bad can come from it. I remember seeing a magazine article from, like, the 1920s, right? It was in a women's magazine, and it was like, here's advice on how you get a man. And I'm like, this is insane, right? Like, this is insane stuff. Now, as a society, we've kind of gotten rid of a lot of that stuff that was just crazy, right? Like, you don't necessarily even have to be married, like, as long as Jesus is number one in your life. But I feel like I still hear grumblings of this, you know? And like me being a girl dad and like girl dad times 2 come March, like I hear like these grumblings. I'm like, don't you dare ever say that to my daughter. You know what I mean? Like the idea of, man, like, I've heard of like little kids and like the grandma's like, oh, you're just getting like a little chubby, aren't you? And I'm like, you better take a step back from my daughter. Like, she's going to grow up and she's going to be healthy and she's going to love herself. Like, that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But it's like, it comes from these grumblings of like the old past. It's like, you need to look a certain way. You need to be a certain way in order to get into this relationship. See us as something that is not good. He sees us as a creation that he created and designed to be in a relationship with him. To be in a relationship with Jesus is how we were designed. You know? Ooh. When I was in early college, I discovered something about me and the homies. And fellas, you can let me know if you've ever experienced this. We originally named this phase of our life something different, and I'll omit that name because I named it after a person, and I later realized, I was like, that was pretty messed up, Zach. You probably shouldn't have done that. But we later renamed it to the girl phase, is what we called it. So this may apply more to the guys. Ladies, I'm sure something similar happens to you, but speaking from my man brain here, the girl phase, what I first noticed with the guy who I originally named it after when we changed it, is he would have a new girlfriend every single week, literally. And it got to the point where we're like, dude, the heck are you doing? Like, he's like, well, you know, like that one didn't work out, but this one's going to work. I'm like, do you know her middle name? He's like, well, not yet. I'm like, that's not good. That's not good. I think if you're dating someone, you should know their middle name, you know? And then I had another friend who went through the girl phase, but his was more physical, right? Like, he was definitely sleeping around. And it got to the point where I remember one day we were driving in my truck. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go over to this girl's house tonight. And I looked at him like, no, you will not. It's like, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, we've been down this road. Nothing good happens. You're not going, you know? And for me, when I went through it, it was different. Mine was like a mindset. It was like every girl I met, I would be like, oh, I could date her. I could date her. I could date her. And really, like, the end result, and this is where, like, me and these guys in early college, we went through a lot of stuff together. We went through like military deployments. We were in each other's weddings, you know, like we did a lot of life together, but we were truly accountable to one another. And we one day sat down and said, we care more about our relationship with Jesus than we do our friendship. So we're going to be brutally honest with one another. And for me, when I was going through that girl phase, they literally sat me down and they're like, Zach, you are not keeping your eyes on Jesus. You are focusing on other things. Right? And that's what accountability looks like. Now, I'm not telling you this because I want you to like go confront somebody about it. I'm just giving you like, this is how it can look sometimes. You know, for us, like I said, like we went through like each other's weddings, guys who were on deployment, guys who were on mission trips for years and stuff like that. And we always like kind of stuck it out with each other. We gained weight in each other's lives to be able to sit each other down and to tell us that hard stuff. If you walk up to somebody that you don't know and simply be like, you got to stop chasing all these girls around, they'd be like, the heck are you talking about? Like, you don't know me. I had a guy one time come up to me in the lobby and he sang me a song, which was interesting. I don't think I've ever just been like randomly sang to before. I don't, anybody been randomly sang to? Colton, surely. No? Colton? Or Carter? Oh, this guy, he just sang to me in the lobby and I was trying to be respectful. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is one of the weirdest things I've encountered. And then afterwards, he's like, God gave me a word for you. I'm like, great, let's hear it. He's like, you got to get rid of this anger, man. And I'm like, I'm just trying to be respectful. I'm like, thank you. In my mind, I'm like, I didn't know I was angry. You know, I tend to not be, I mean, I get angry, but I tend to not be a very angry person. So, but like, I don't even know who that guy's name was. Like, even to this day, like, I don't remember it. You know, it's just, all I'm saying is, Lord, we done broke something. We're just going to keep going. Am I illuminated? Am I illuminated by the iPad? John's going to get it working. John's going to get it working. So what I don't want for you guys is I don't want you to use this message and take it and try to apply it to somebody else. I want you guys to look at this message, to use this message and apply it to yourself. I want you to look inwardly with this one. Sound good? All right. We can look at it inwardly. Some of you guys have heard this analogy before, but I like to think of knowing when you enter a relationship as pizza, which is a sore subject tonight because I was supposed to have pizza last week and I forgot, and then I forgot again this week. So, look, this is what happens when the lights turn on. They all start moving. Spencer is offering up his salad if anybody wants a bite. I don't know if there's any takers. But anyway, if you think about a relationship, right? A pizza is complete and delicious on its own, right? It needs nothing else. Sure, you can add toppings, but you would argue to say that that helps complete the pizza, is the toppings. It's complete and it's delicious by itself. A soda is also complete and delicious by itself, right? What you don't do is take an uncooked pizza and dump a Dr. Pepper on it and try to finish it that way, right? But so many of us want to do that in a relationship. So many of us feel like we're incomplete and we're like, well, I'm going to bring this person in because they're going to help complete me. Right? When you go into a relationship, you need to be complete and whole in Jesus first. And you bring a spouse in who's going to complement you in that, and vice versa. Right? Your significant other, the boyfriend, girlfriend, the spouse, they don't complete you. Jesus completes you. The spouse helps you continue to chase in that relationship, and you help your spouse to chase in that relationship too. Right? But so many of us feel either like inadequate when we're not in a relationship, or scared, or whatever the case is. But what you need to realize is you need to be in a relationship with Jesus first. You need to be good with Jesus first. I'm not saying wait until you're ready, like you feel complete, because you probably never feel that way, knowing that we're imperfect. But if you're chasing Jesus with everything that you got and you are just trying, then you're probably ready. Right? If you are trusting God and you kind of stop worrying about who you might date or anything like that, like you're just putting everything in the God's hands, then you're probably ready. But if you're not, if you feel like you're still clinging on to that stuff, then you're probably not ready. It's almost like the more you're trying to get into a relationship, the more you probably shouldn't be in one. The more you need to chase Jesus. And I think that preparing for marriage starts before you are married. And that's why I think this message, whether you're married or you're not married, or maybe you're in the position you're like, I just don't want to be married, I want to live the single life. That's great too. Either way, you still need to be complete and whole in Jesus first. Someone else is not going to fill that hole. It's just not going to happen. They are imperfect. They're going to let you down at some point. So I want us to read through Proverbs chapter 5. Which I was looking at the notes and I totally forgot. I didn't forget to put the scripture in. I forgot to put the reference in because I tried to fit the entirety of the scripture on those notes and it did not fit. It will be on the screen though. But crack open those Bibles, open up those phones or lightsabers as I like to call them, and we'll bust open to Proverbs chapter 5. And then we'll go through some things. So what I titled this section is Things to Know While Preparing Yourself. Right? So while you are preparing yourself for that future relationship, for marriage, or just want to get closer to Jesus, I think this chunk of scripture is going to give us some good things to look at. So here's what it says. My son or daughter, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as gall, sharp as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life. Her paths wander aimlessly, but she does not know it. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house, lest you lose your honor to others and your dignity to one who is cruel, lest strangers feast on your wealth and your toil enrich the house of another. At the end of your life, you will groan when your flesh and body are spent. You will say, how I hated discipline, how my heart spurned correction. I would not obey my teachers or turn my ear to my instructors, and I was soon in serious trouble in the assembly of God's people. Drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow in the streets, your streams of water in the public squares, let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be intoxicated with her love. Why, my son, be intoxicated with another man's wife? Why embrace the bosom of a wayward woman? For your ways are in full view of the Lord, and he examines all your paths. The evil deeds of the wicked ensnare them. The cords of their sins hold them fast. For lack of discipline, they will die, led astray by their own great folly. So here are some things that I'm pulling from this. It can be a little confusing sometimes. There's a lot of like symbolism working in here, right? Number one, temptation will come. As you are preparing yourself, right? As you're trying to get closer to Jesus, temptation will come. No matter what you struggle with, whatever you're trying to get healthier with or get better with, temptation is going to come. Even if you are putting Jesus first with all of your might, temptation will come. You got to remember, Jesus was tempted. Why would you not also be tempted, right? Number two, you may not regret the short term, but the long-term results will be something you regret. And I find this in a lot of unhealthy things, right? Like, I love fast food. It's no secret. You say the word Chick-fil-A and I'm already there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's my love language. It's Chick-fil-A. It's my spirit animal. But the long-term result of eating nothing but processed food is not good, right? And when I was in my 20s, I was like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm 35 and I eat something, I get heartburn. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like look at a spicy chicken sandwich. I'm like, ooh, better take a Pepsi, you know? Like, it's kind of like these results of like my 20s. It's like, man, who cares about that stuff? You see it now later in life. And you see this in a lot of different things, right? I think you can see it a lot in alcohol. You can see it a lot in like smoking. Like when you're young and you're smoking cigarettes, like not a big deal, right? But I can tell you, my grandma, before she passed away, she was smoking cigarettes till the day that she died. She was on oxygen. Take the oxygen out, try and smoke a cigarette. She had such little lung capacity in like her 70s, she couldn't stand up out of the chair on her own without getting out of breath. She couldn't even light her own cigarette anymore. Right? And it's so many things. Like, I think when we're young, we're a little in the mindset of like, this isn't going to happen to me, but then it does. You know, I think it's the same thing with like sex outside of marriage or with multiple partners or whatever kind of the addiction is that you're struggling with. At some point, it's going to catch up with you. Number three is be intoxicated with your wife's love. And I think the wording of this is important, right? Your wife's love. If you are not married, you're not going to be intoxicated with anybody's love. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is for your spouse, not the person you're dating, not the person you're engaged to. It's the person you are married to, right? And you want to protect that marital bed. We talked about it a little bit last week. You want to protect yours and you want to protect the person's that you're dating or whatever the case is. Because like if it doesn't work out, you don't want to be the one that caused them to compromise something that they maybe didn't want to compromise. But be intoxicated with your wife's love, right? And he used this analogy of letting your water overflow into the streets for the public, but yet keep it private for your wife. And some things are just meant to stay between a husband and wife. It's one of the beauties of being married. There are things that are just for the two of you and nothing else or no one else, right? It's a beautiful thing. Like no one else gets to share that but the two of you. And I've even heard someone say that's like the bedroom as a whole, like that's like your sacred space when you're married, right? Like people don't need to be walking into your bedroom willy-nilly. Like that's your spot. Right now, like we got a little toddler running around and she'll be busting the door all the time, like so violently. I don't know what it is about toddlers. They just be like, ding dong, you know, like it's insane sometimes. That was a little bit of a tangent. Number 4, what you need to know is that God knows everything. He already knows it. There's a 21 Pilots song forever ago, and this may be like a weird example, but it talks about how he is like, the lyric is like, I'm standing in front of you and I'm trying to be so cool, but I got a screen on my chest. And that's kind of like the same thing with our relationship with God. Like, how many times have we gone before God and be like, yeah, no, I'm good. And God's looking at you like, are you though? I mean, think of Adam and Eve back in the garden, like after the fall happened, right? Like they're like hiding in the bushes, you know what I'm saying? And God's walking around. He's like, Adam, where are you? You know, like this is the Lord we're talking about. He knew he was in the bush to the left, right? And then all of a sudden Adam comes up and he's like, man, yeah, we hiding. We're just hiding. We're hiding out. He's like, why? Well, because we're naked. And the guy was like, who told you that? Who told you were naked? You know? And it's like Adam's just over here. He's like, no, man, we didn't do the woman. Actually, she's the one who did it. You know? And then God looks at the woman. He's like, what happened? She's like, well, the snake, you see the snake over there. It's kind of like how I forgot pizza. I'm like, well, you know, because it had rained. And then the Patriots, you know, sorry, Paul, wherever you are. I didn't mean to bring that up. Breathe a little easy, though. You know what I'm saying? I made a deal with Paul that if the Patriots won the Super Bowl in the next 5 years, I would take them up to Boston. I didn't expect it to happen in year one of the deal. So thank the Lord. Anyway, God already knows everything that's going on. Why not bring it up anyway? Why not get it out into the open? Right? Which goes to the next point, number 5. Secret sin, or just sin in general, if not dealt with, will be your downfall. It will always find a way into the light. It'll always get out there in some way, shape, or form. And for me, when someone confesses something to me, that's a lot better than when they're caught in it. Because in my mind, when something is confessed, it means your heart is already in the right place, right? Your heart is already in the mindset of like, I want to get better. I want to start doing better. I want to start chasing Jesus better. So I'm confessing this to you. Versus being caught is like, man, you were never going to bring that out. But now you want to get better because it's out. And I think there's a time and a place for it, right? Like sometimes people need to get caught. That's what needs to happen. Right? Like God has come in and he has sent his entire nation, his people into exile to bring, you know, accountability and everything due to like corrupt leadership. This whole Jeremiah 29:11 thing that was going on, right? So like there is a time and place for someone to be caught. But in general, I think if you control bringing that secret sin out into the light, people are going to be way more receptive. Right? Not necessarily, hopefully not understanding. Hopefully not going to look at you and be like, oh, it's okay. You just keep doing what you're doing. No, but I think they're going to be more receptive in the sense of like, let's help you. Let's start taking steps together. I'm here for you. I can help you with this, right? I can be an accountability person for you. Whatever the case is, that's what happens, I think, when you control bringing it out into the light. I think people are going to be way more receptive than what you think they're going to be. A lot of times what happens with sin and with the enemy, the devil, whatever you want to call him, is he wants to convince you that you are the only one who struggles with it. And if you bring it out that you're this disgusting, nasty person, that's because he wants to keep you where you're at. He doesn't want you to chase Jesus. So that sin is going to do everything in its power to convince you that bringing it out is the worst idea when that is actually the best idea. It's the same thing. I kind of used this analogy last week, but it's the same thing with depression. Depression tends to make people tired. One of the best ways to fight it is to get out with people. But what it's telling you to do is to go sleep. So one of the best ways to fight it is to do exactly the opposite of what your body is telling you to do. I even see it like in a short-term aspect when I get sick and I have to start taking NyQuil, which now that my kid's in preschool happens like at least once a month. I started taking, Maria knows because she's an elementary school teacher. Those little rugrats be getting sick left and right. But I started taking NyQuil, and like let's say it's like a week. Like it takes me about a week to get through whatever cold or whatever bug, you know, Maisie's brought into the house. That first night when I don't take NyQuil, I'm just wide awake. I'll be exhausted and just wide awake. It's like my body that quickly gets like almost like addicted to this substance that's helping me fall asleep. So I have to go through and like suck it up, right? I'm going to be super exhausted tomorrow, but then I'll sleep. You know, it's like I can't let myself sleep in. I can't let myself skip stuff because I'm tired. I have to like push through it and get to this next part, and then I'll get back on track, right? That's kind of the same thing when it comes to sin. You have to push through the hard, the awkward, the unpleasant parts to get to the part that's going to be good. But your sin's going to convince you to stay exactly where you are to keep that thing hidden. The next section of this message that I labeled is how do I start preparing, right? So those are some good things to just keep in mind while you're preparing yourself for marriage, or like you just want to start walking down this path towards sanctification, like becoming more like Christ, chasing that relationship with Jesus, or you want to prepare yourself for marriage. Those are things that I think are important to keep in the back of your mind. How do you actually start doing it? Number one is you got to set up boundaries with people. One boundary I have in my life is to not drink alcohol. There's a few reasons for that. One, I have seen everyone in my immediate family get drunk, right? Number two, I look at myself and I think I can never eat just one Oreo. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of a silly example, but knowing how weak-willed I am when it comes to food or things that I just like to put into my mouth, like Dr. Pepper and things like that, man, if I found an alcoholic drink where alcohol affects your judgment and I like it, I'm probably going to want more of it, right? It's like I can't control myself around something that doesn't affect my judgment. I don't think I can be trusted around something that will affect my judgment. You know what I'm saying? So it's just looking at that boundary in my life. So my boundary is like, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to get into it. And all the things that people are like, oh, well, if you don't drink, you can't do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, I can. A lot of times people are like, well, how do you socialize with people? I'm like, I don't know. I walk up and talk to them. Like I go to baseball games all the time. I don't have to drink to have a good time. You know, like all the arguments that people try to use to like justify drinking alcohol, I can look at it and be like, you can still do those things. Right. Some other boundaries that I think are good, or like how do you set up boundaries, is look at, especially when it comes to dating, look at what people in relationships do and maybe either do or don't do those things, right? If you're not dating somebody, why are you kissing them? I think it's a fair question to ask yourself, especially if you don't feel like you even want to date that person. Why are you holding their hand? Why are you like letting that happen? Like have that boundary, you know, and if you're dating and you want to kiss and hold hands, I think that's okay. But think about the next step. Like don't be dating and doing what married people do, right? Like set those boundaries. If someone like wants to have sex with you but is not willing to marry you, they don't get that honor. If someone is not willing to respect your boundaries, they don't get to date you. That's just what it is. These are your boundaries that you set up, right? People can be upset. Let them be angry about it. People can be angry. You don't have to make everybody happy all the time. In fact, you never will. It's impossible, right? There's been decisions that I've had to make where I'm like, I'm either going to make these people happy or I'm going to make these people happy, but somebody's going to hate me at the end of this. It's just a part of life. It's going to happen. Set up boundaries for yourself and stick to them. They may look slightly different for each of us, just depending on you. You know you best, right? Set those boundaries up and stick to them. But when it comes to relationships, I would challenge you to just think through, what do people do in that stage of the relationship from a biblical standpoint, not a society standpoint, because that's a wildly different answer, right? If you're not dating, why hold hands, you know? Or like if you are doing that, like, okay, let's define this thing. What is this? And if someone's like, I don't know if I really want to date anybody. He's like, okay, well then we're not going to go get dinner and then go to the movies, which funny enough is the next summit event that we're doing, but that's different. That's different. It's a group thing. In fact, Frank the Tank is my like safety person, right? Because I'm like, if one girl shows up, I have to cancel the event. So Frank the Tank is my guy. So we don't have to cancel the event. That's right. Anyway, if that person that you're interested in wants you to compromise biblical values that you have, they don't get to be with you. I'm not saying it's easy. It's way easier said than done, right? Because if you actually care about that person, now you got to break things off with them. That's hard to do. But what's going to be better is you sticking to your boundaries, because it's ultimately going to lead you to the right person. Number 2 is to start today. Set those boundaries today. Take that first step today. Tell somebody today with what you're struggling with. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't think through it any longer. Start today. If you're feeling motivated to do it now, do it now. Maybe not in front of everybody, but like do it today. Pull me aside. I would love to have a conversation with you. I try my best to just be understanding with where people are coming from. You know, look at 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 7 through 9. It says, have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Rather, train yourself to be godly. For physical training is of some value, but godliness has value for all things, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. This is a trustworthy saying that deserves full acceptance. So you have to train yourself spiritually. You will not be perfect day one, right? You can accept Christ and you're still going to have struggles the next day. It takes time, right? It takes time to read the Bible and to learn what it says. It takes like being in connect groups and stuff like that, which kind of takes me to number 2. But several things can help you train yourself. Number 1 is getting involved in a connect group. It's a great way. It's people that you can bounce ideas and questions off of when you're not sure about things, right? Like that's where open dialogue and open conversation is great, right? The Summit is fantastic. It's a time of teaching and we're getting into it, but connect groups is where you're going to go a little bit deeper in that. You're going to ask more questions because this right now, this is not a two-way conversation, right? Like it's me talking, you guys are listening, which is, there's a time and a place for that. But to have a conversation in a connect group is really, really good. Number 2, being in ministry with people who are older than you. So fellas, get involved with that men's ministry. Ladies, get involved with the women's ministry. I think the age is like 14 and up. You guys meet the requirements to be in those ministries. But the beauty of it is you are going to now be interacting with people who are older than you, who have kind of been there, done that in life, right? Like when we were about to have Maisie, I talked to people who had kids. Right? I didn't talk to somebody who didn't have kids. Like, man, what do you think I should do about this? Like, man, what a blessing it is to have Will Landman in my life, because he was like, you know, his oldest son, Sammy's about to turn 8, and then he's got Noah, and Kara is roughly the same age as my daughter. So I'm like, Will, what did you do / what are you currently doing? You know, like it's so great to be able to talk through that with somebody. But then I was also going to like Kevin Kiak, Tim, Pastor Barry, you know, and just asking questions about this parent. Like, what did you guys do? How are you doing things? You know, all to help me gauge with how, like, kids are crazy. Like, you have to teach them how to sleep. It's insane. Number 3, being aggressive in your addictions, or being aggressive in giving your addictions over to Christ. Be aggressive with it, right? And it goes back to the whole idea of like, start today. Like, be intense about it. Don't let that thing win. Number 4 is serving. And I don't know about you guys, when I was in elementary school, and I don't know, did you guys have to do spelling tests? Okay, cool. I heard they like got rid of them for a while. I think they're, did they still get rid of them, Maria? I don't know. But I remember doing spelling tests, and I don't know what it is about me. I have the worst time memorizing stuff, right? Memorization and me, we are not friends. So anytime I would just sit there and try and go through the spelling list, right? Be like 4, F-O-U-R, 4, F-O-R. Like, it's probably also why I was a Taylor speller, because the English language just doesn't make sense. But I would be like trying to memorize how to spell these words, and I'd always fail the test. The way that I would pass the test is I would help somebody else study for it, right? So I'd ask them, like, spell 4, and they would spell it. Like, that engraved it in my brain so much more than me simply just trying to study it myself. And it's the same thing when it comes to the Bible. Like, take what you know and just get out there and do it. It's crazy. I remember sitting in college one time, and I'm like pretty close to graduating, and these guys come into one of my classes from a seminary school, and they're like, you guys aren't ready for ministry. You need more Bible and theology classes. And look, there's nothing wrong with more Bible and theology classes. It's great. At some point, though, you got to start doing ministry, right? At some point, you got to get out there. You got to start leading. You got to start doing, like, I wanted to lead ministries. At some point, you have to actually start doing it, right? You don't have to know all the answers. You don't. You don't got to know how to hold open a door to volunteer for First Impressions. They'll figure it out. Noah's brother could probably teach you how to do it. He's always volunteering for First Impressions. I miss Sam. Where is he? My goodness. One day we'll get him back. But anyway, like, just get out there and start doing it, man. You want to learn more about the Bible? Go serve at high school camp and let them ask you questions. And be okay not knowing the answer. And just tell me, like, man, I don't know, but that is an amazing question, right? I've had people ask me questions that have caused me to dive deeper into the scriptures before because my brain just didn't think of it. You know, a lot of times when I like read stuff or I watch stuff, like I'm not looking for like these super in-depth meetings or anything like that. So it helps me for people to ask me questions because it causes me to go deeper, right? And that's like a result of me being in a leadership position in ministry, right? So you're going to learn just as much from being a servant as you are being a leader. But of course, if you're here and you do not have a relationship with Jesus, I mean, the grit your teeth and work hard stuff, like that's great and that's fantastic. But if it's not rooted in a relationship with Jesus, then it's nothing. You can't do this based on your own willpower. You need Christ. And like I said earlier in the message, you were designed to be in a relationship with Jesus. If you want to live life to the fullest and have it like an abundant life, it's through Jesus. It's not through anything else. It's only through Christ that you can achieve that, right? Because everything else is going to leave you wanting more. Christ is the only thing that will satisfy you. So if you haven't taken that step tonight, I really want to encourage you and challenge you to do it. And if you want to do it, if everyone wants to just close your eyes and bow your heads, you can pray something like this. You can say, God, I know I'm a sinner. And I know I'm hanging on to a lot of stuff. But Father, tonight, I just want to give it all over to you. And I invite you into my life. I accept what Jesus did on the cross for me. And Father, I just want to be in your hands. And real quick, if you prayed that, I just want you to stick your hand up. You can put it right back down. Father, I thank you for tonight and just the opportunity we have to be here and to do this. And God, I just pray for every single person in this room, man, whatever it is that we're holding on to. God, I know we're doing sex and dating, so we're talking a lot heavy on that side of things. But God, any addiction, any struggle, anything that's going on in this room, God, I pray for courage for those people to push aside the feelings that sin has on us that makes us want to keep it all to ourselves, God. And I pray that you help us just bring it out into the open to tell somebody about it, God. And I pray for those people who are the ones being told, God, that those people can just have understanding and sympathy and a heart, God, that they want to help people get better. And God, I just pray for us as a community that we are constantly a community that is here to raise people up, to build people up, not to tear people down. And God, I just pray for all this in your name. Amen.